meals, and then the roof is really intimacy that protects you. But whenever my kids were little, they loved to go to McDonald's, and so one day I took them, and as we were sitting there eating our Happy Meals, I looked over and there was this couple that looked retirement age, and they were reading the newspaper. There was a cookie, and they both had coffee, and I just kind of became fascinated with them, watching them. And she was kind of working the crossword, and he was reading the business section. And I noticed that they would sit there and read something, and then he'd put his paper down, and he'd say, "Hey, have you seen this?" And they'd have this little discussion about what it is he was reading, and then the paper would come back up, and then they'd go about the thing, and then all of a sudden the woman would say, "Hey, what's a 6-letter word for this?" And he'd put his paper down and look at what was taking place. And I thought it was this beautiful imagery of what friendship is like. As you're walking side by side through life together, you're experiencing life together, but then you're bringing back to the couple what those experiences are like. And to me, it is this interweaving of being by ourselves and then being together. And I thought this couple just gave an image of that was so beautiful of what my life with Jenny needs to be. I need to experience life that she's not going to be alongside of me at every moment, but bring back the good, ask for help with the things that I need help with. And it's this constant weaving back and forth. I think that's one of the powers of technology. We talk about all the downsides of technology, and rightfully so, but to be able to text your spouse and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you today," or what I've done this
Does that count? I hope so, because I do that a lot.
But even this morning, being in beautiful Colorado Springs, I shot a picture of the mountains and sent them to Jenny. And, part of that's love, part of that's jealousy. It's all the same thing, right? But there's playfulness that can come into that. I think it's a beautiful picture. And I think, for me, it's not that it's not that a good marriage necessarily has less negative events in their marriage. It's that a good marriage has more positive events.
Yeah.
And so we have to be intentional about coming back to our spouse with good things, with happy things, with meaningful things, and sharing that part of our lives with them.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Greg Smalley on our team here, he often will talk about how marriages can fall into business relationships, right? So you're just managing the budget, you're just managing schedule together, and you don't have kind of the deeper good attributes of marriage. You've mentioned a couple of ideas on how to develop that friendship. Do you have some other ideas on how to nurture friendship? And especially think of guys who, we like the rooftop, what you talked about. The intimacy is the roof. So we like to go to the roof pretty quickly.
Exactly.
How do we slow that down and make sure that the foundation of friendship, as you described it, is really healthy?
Yeah, I think the very first thing is we have to make sure our spouse is our first person that we turn to. And so if something were to happen today, good or bad, who's the first person you call? There's something about the first telling. The first telling has more emotion, specifically for men. If men really struggle in their relationship with showing their spouse the emotion, then they need to make sure that the first person they tell the good or bad story to is not their buddy, it's not a coworker, instead it is their spouse, because that first telling tends to have a lot of emotion. Whenever I do funerals, sometimes I'll prepare, if I think it's going to be an emotional funeral, I'll go through it several times to get the emotion out. Well, if your wife is saying that you need more emotion in your conversation, you need to get the emotion in. And a lot of times what's happening is good things are happening, and we go to a coworker and we tell them. Or a struggle is happening, and we go to a friend on our way home and tell them. So by the time that we're talking to our spouse, that emotion is gone, and our spouse feels like they're getting something else.
Yeah.
And so I think to build a friendship, first and foremost, you want to make sure that your spouse is the very first person you turn to in good and bad. And then beyond that, there's a variety of things. I mean, the simplest recommendation I give to couples all the time is take a walk.
Together.
No, that's exactly. Well, sometimes
take a walk.
Sometimes by yourself.
Why don't you go take a walk?
Take a walk together. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And think about this picture of friendship being side by side in life. Think about the things that you do side by side with people.
That's good.
I play golf. You ride side by side in the golf cart. Many people go fishing, right? You think about movies. You think about car rides. Those are side-by-side activities. And so you need to look at how can we get side-by-side, picking up new hobbies. But a walk is just a productive conversations going. You're seeing other things. It is a productive thing.
Yeah. Let's conclude the friendship part and just mention the healthiness or unhealthiness with friendships outside of marriage. What's a good approach?
Yeah, and so your spouse really should be your best friend. I mean, that's the way it's created. Right. That's the way it's built. I don't doubt that at all. And then you need to have healthy relationships outside of that, which means there have to be strong boundaries. And as spouses, you work through that. I mean, I firmly believe in the wife veto. With one of my friends, I'm going to trust her on that, male or female. It could be that she doesn't like this guy friend that I have because his values are so radically different than mine.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust her on that. And so it doesn't mean that she has to like every friend of mine or have to necessarily enjoy hanging around with every friend of hers. But it does mean that her friendship to me is so important that she's going to be first, and that she's going to have a deep impact and influence on the friendships that I have. And they have to be strong in boundaries to say that this relationship with my spouse is unique, it is special, and nothing is going to touch it in a negative way.
Yeah, and that describes, again, a healthy marriage.
This is Focus on the Family with Jim Daly, and our guest today is Pastor Kevin Thompson. We're talking about some of the concepts in his book, Friends, Partners, and Lovers. Get your copy when you call 800-A-FAMILY or stop by focusonthefamily.com/broadcast.
Kevin, I so appreciate the illustration you mentioned a little while ago about the house and the foundation being friendship and the structure being partnership and then the roof being that intimacy, lovers, as your book title says. Moving to the partner component, describe the role of partner. It's a word that's thrown around a lot in our culture today. How do we assess the partnership role in our own marriage? How do we see that and score it, I guess?
Yeah, if you would have told me, so Jenny and I have been married 21 years, right? If you would have told me 20 years ago about this idea of partnership, I would have been like, well, that's kind of cold. That's kind of, what's the point of that?
Sounds like a business deal.
No, that's exactly right. But actually at this point, this is the area of marriage that actually excites me the most from the standpoint of it's so overlooked, and yet there's such potential within it. And so, yes, partnership does talk about the idea of just managing the household and raising the kids and making the money. But I think it's far more than that. I think it's this idea that every single day there's somebody in my life that wakes up and thinks, how can I make his life better? And how can I help him create the life that he desires to have? That's what partnership ultimately is about. How can I make her dreams come true? So literally I get this picture of Jenny and I standing back to back, and I'm scanning the horizon 180 degrees looking for threats and opportunities. And then she's doing the same thing. And so immediately my vantage point is broadened because of Jenny. There are things that she takes care of that I don't have to worry about in any way. We laugh all the time. For whatever reason, with our children, I take care of the ears, she takes care of the teeth. So I have a daughter with Down syndrome who has ear problems. So I always take her to the ENT, always, no questions asked. Jenny always does the dentist and orthodontist. Have no idea how that happened. It just kind of happened. And we reevaluate it on occasion. Is this working for you? But it's just life is easier. I don't have to worry about teeth. Jenny's got the teeth. I got the ears. And that compounds in every aspect of life. And I think in marriage, in a strong partnership will literally divide your weaknesses and multiply your strengths. Think about that. If I'm weak in something and Jenny is strong, well, she gets to take the lead in that area, and my weakness is covered up. It's downplayed. It's diminished. If I'm strong in an area, Jenny's strength can now multiply my impact and what's going on, how I can go about it. Even in writing books, she's a tremendous editor. I'm a horrible editor, right? My son the other day, he was diagramming sentences, and he said, "Dad, can you help me with this? This is homeschooling.
Run!
This is COVID, right?" And I said, "Buddy, I can't do that." And he goes, "But you write books." And I said, "I have 9 editors." And he said, "Can we send it to one of them?" But the idea of, I know what Jenny's strengths are, and that covers up my weaknesses. And so I truly believe that it divides my weaknesses and multiplies my strengths. And partnership to me is where many couples, I think, don't understand the potential that lies within marriage, that this can really be a fun aspect of their relationship, and not just a cold aspect.
And I think, again, it points exactly to God's design, because we look at Genesis, it's the completer. We typically marry people that are somewhat opposite to us. Extrovert marries an introvert, etc. So it's almost like we come together and we complete each other. And then we got to lean on those strengths of each other. And that's where some of the friction comes in marriage, where we don't. We believe our instincts are better than our spouses, so we're going to do it this way. And the spouse knows that's not true. I'm stronger in this than you are. And it creates friction. Let me ask you, we're 3 guys sitting at the table here, and we've talked about the roof quite a bit, that idea of intimacy. I like the fact that you're positioning that in such a way that the structure is partner, and friendship is the foundation again, because sometimes I think we as men, and I want to represent the female thought at this table in this moment, just knowing my wife Jean well enough, you don't build the walls on top of the roof. So, meaning intimacy, physical intimacy. So, I think speak to that aspect. How do we make sure that we're building the partnership walls strong so that the rooftop goes on and the partnership can hold the roof up, that rooftop of intimacy.
Yeah, well, and I really think the idea, if you think about if you were to start a business and you were going to go with a business partner, who would you want as a business partner? You would want somebody who's going to give an equal amount of effort, of care, just as much as you are going to care, or is going to work just as hard as you're going to work. But you do not want somebody who's just like you. Because what's the point? If the more you can diversify your strengths and abilities in that partnership, the stronger the business can be. And so it is with marriage. And so my question for couples whenever it comes to the partnership within the relationship is not, are you doing the same things? I don't want you doing the same things. You're supposed to complement one another. My question is, are you putting in the equal amount of work, of effort, of attention, of desire? Is that happening? And where that is happening, there's unlimited potential for a couple. What's scary to me is when I see couples who are in trouble, many times they have devolved into a parent-child relationship. One of them is not taking the full responsibility of the relationship, of the partnership, and instead is acting like a child. My kids don't have to care where the money comes from. My kids don't have to be concerned with how food's going to show up on the table. They just know it's going to happen. It's just going to magically appear, right? Well, they have a mother and father that take care of that for them. It's supposed to be that way. That's not supposed to be that way for me. Jenny's not my mom, right? Now, we do different things, and yes, there are some things that she does that they just appear and it's great. But there are other things I'm doing too. There's equal effort that's going on. And in many relationships where the couples are struggling, the woman is spending money without any thought or concern about the budget, and the man is struggling to keep it all together in some way, right? The woman is working all day and then coming home and doing 100% of the things around the house, and the guy is just on the couch. Well, the person on the couch is a child. That's how a child comes home after school, right? They do a couple chores and then they're done. The majority of the work goes to the parent. And so whenever I see partnership break down, this inequality forms in which one is doing a majority of the work and the investment and taking responsibility and another one isn't. And that becomes a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
When a parent-child exists, you need professional help.
Well, I was going to ask you, I think what jumped into my mind is who gets the score of the test, right? And that points right to the marital conflict, because whoever's feeling like an equitable, reciprocal relationship is not here, that's usually the one who's scoring the exam, right? They're the ones rating the relationship. And that's where frustration, bitterness, resentment begins to build. Now we're right on the core issue of why marriages are breaking down, because they're not healthy in the way that you're describing it. Staying in love, this is a much better area. Staying in love really is a choice. I mean, 70 years like Eugene and his wife, that's a long time. It helps to look back at that moment when we fell in love. And I think you recall a special moment with Jenny about your first date in the book. What happened?
Yeah.
First date memories. I love
these. That's exactly right. And so I was a pastoral ministry major at Oklahoma Baptist University with a minor in psychology. And so I was actually taking a family intimacy course at that moment, which is hilarious to look back on now. I would love to sit back through that now, right? A 20-year-old kid, what did I know, right?
I'm sure you could pontificate.
No doubt. So, but I remember reading in that class that idea that generally speaking, women tend to make the first touch. That tends to happen.
Hold a hand, touch an arm.
Yes, some kind of touch of some sort, and that the man needs to reciprocate that, and that there's this kind of intricate dance that's going on that couples aren't really even aware of. That anybody listening who's not married currently on their next date, they'll notice, right? And so I asked Jenny out. We went out downtown Oklahoma City. We walked around for hours. It was beautiful. And I'll never forget, we were talking, and I made a joke, and she hit me, kind of punched me, just very lightly, playfully. And so we kept on walking, and suddenly hit me. Oh, wait, she just touched me. I have to touch her back. There has to be some way to touch her back. Yes, no, that's exactly right.
Touch her back.
Class had taught me, right? Exactly right.
Touch her back.
So I just looked for just a touch on the shoulder, right? Very easy. But it's interesting looking back on that, of the power of non-sexual touch and the importance of that, and how that really goes back. That really kind of goes back to friendship. It really does. That idea of touch goes back to friendship. It plays into the intimacy, no doubt. But you think about it. I mean, if I make a great putt on the golf course, my buddy's going to high five me, right? If I'm grieving, my friends are going to embrace me. And so there is this necessary non-sexual touch that I think if couples would increase, they would then see the intimacy increase. And notice what's happening. If you want to be a better lover, generally speaking, how do you do that? Become a better friend and a better partner.
That's right.
Build the foundation and the walls. I'm not saying it goes just that easily, but generally speaking, for the average couple out there that's in a decent marriage and they want it to be just a little bit better, what they need to be thinking about is friendship. I say in the book that skittish is the opposite of sexy. Right? Skittish, what does that mean? There's no trust. And whenever I think about these roles, friendship is built on this concept of trust. Partnership then is built on the idea of respect. Well, if you have trust and respect, intimacy can be pretty good. But if either of those two aren't present, you're in trouble.
And we're right near the end, and that was really the next question, the 5 keys, and you mentioned a couple of them, the 5 keys to saving your marriage, which you list, and I'll read them, and then you can just give us a highlight or two. Humility, respect, mercy, communication, and resilience. So, I mean, they're right there in the book. I think those are really strong. Let me just pick one, resilience. How does resilience in your marriage help you have a long-term committed marriage, a lifelong marriage?
It is this idea of we're going to make it. Whatever it takes.
No matter what.
Whatever it takes, we're going to make it. Now notice what that means. Because a lot of couples think we're going to make it, but then they're not willing to go get counseling. They're not willing to go to Hope Restored. They're not willing to take the next step. Whatever it takes means that I'm not going to care about my appearances. I'm not going to care about my reputation. That literally I will sacrifice everything in order to make sure I do whatever is necessary for Jenny and I to have a successful relationship. And that is our mindset. And so what that means, if we have a problem, we're going to go get help. Well, we're in a small town. What happens if somebody sees us? Well, they see us.
Good.
So be it.
Yeah, I like that.
And so it is this idea. We have a counselor that's down the office in our church hallway. And I'll tell couples on occasion, you need to go see this counselor. And sometimes they will say, oh, I can't walk this church hallway with all these staff people and then see us go in. And I always tell them, you know what we're thinking in that moment? Good for them. Good for them. They're getting help. Well, I don't sit back and judge, go, oh, I wonder why they're walking in there.
Right.
I think to myself, there's 1,000 reasons why I need to be walking in there.
Right, that's a better attitude.
And so resilience really does mean to me that we're going to do whatever it takes, which means we're going to confront the true issues in our relationship and not push them aside, because we're going to do whatever it takes to make it.
Kevin, this has been so great. I mean, I really love the practical advice, and your book is so full of more. And I wish we could keep going just to talk about those basic skill sets. But you're covering a lot of territory. And I hope for the listener, if you are, you're not where you want to be, it's not desperate, but you want to be in a better spot. This is the kind of resource, friends, partners, and lovers, the kind of book that you really need to sink your teeth into and better understand. Kevin's done a great job of outlining those things that really can get you to a better place. And it's really, Kevin, based off a lot of your research and your countless hours of counseling couples, right?
There's no doubt. Seeing the problems over there, and also just asking the question, what does Jenny need from me? And then looking at the Bible and go, okay, there it is.
Those are great questions for all of us. Thanks for being with us
Thanks
today.
so much.
And we'll encourage you to follow up and get in touch with us if we can be of any help to you. Certainly we do have that book, Friends, Partners, and Lovers. We also have caring Christian counselors. Kevin's mentioned Hope Restored. Lots of resources for you. We want to help you stay strong in your marriage, and we're a phone call away. 800, the letter A, and the word family. Or stop by focusonthefamily.com/broadcast.
And John, one free thing that you can do, we have a great marriage assessment tool. I think over 1 million people have taken this. It's really amazing. But it'll show you where you're doing well and where you can strengthen your approach in your marriage. And I think that's one of the best things you can do. It's a great little tool, and it's absolutely free. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes to fill out, and it'll give you a report. It's perfect.
Yeah, and we've got the link for that assessment on your screen there. And if you can, please support the work of Focus on the Family. We're, as Jim said in the beginning of the broadcast here, we're committed to helping marriages. We really want to make your marriage stronger. And to the extent that you can, help us in that mission. Donate as you can, and we'll say thank you by sending a copy of Kevin's book, Friends, Partners, and Lovers. Once more, our number, 800, the letter A, and the word family. And on behalf of Jim Daly and the entire team, thanks for joining us today for Focus on the Family. I'm John Fuller, inviting you back as we once more help you and your family thrive in Christ.